What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another X-Men review. So, after getting through that awful X-Men Origins Wolverine trash, we finally are at a good X-Men movie. X-Men, the 2000 movie. Man, I got a lot of things to say about this movie. It's been a long time since I actually sat down and watched this movie. And I cannot wait to actually really get into it with you guys, because man, I forgot how good X-Men movies were. I really did. Like, again, I have not watched this movie in a long time, but going back and watching it, I was like, wow, they dealt with a lot of, there's a lot to unpack here. So let me just kind of pull myself in and just say this. This movie was really good. This is one of the best X-Men movies I have ever rewatched before in my life. They get so much right. So let me go ahead and start with the story. So the story, you guys kind of know. This movie's been out for like 20 years now, so you guys probably know the story. If you haven't rewatched it, you should probably go back and rewatch it. But man. I mean, okay, so let me start with because I wrote things down. I usually write things down, so I have like a little list of what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and get started with this. So, introductions of powers and characters. This is one of the first things I wrote down. This does the best job of introductions to powers and characters. This movie does a really good job, especially with the amount of characters and mutant abilities within this movie. They do a really good job of showing off, okay, this person can do this, this person can do that. They do a really good job of showing you what all these X-Men can do in such a short amount of time. So I have to congratulate them on this, because you watch a lot of superhero movies these days, and sometimes you don't really have a good idea of what their full power or full capability is. But no, these old early 2000s X-Men movies, Spider-Man movies, Fantastic Four movies, etc. They always did a really good job of showing you their powers, their abilities, etc., etc., what they do and how they work and yada, yada, yada. They really dive deep into what their powers and abilities. Starting with, of course, Magneto. I probably should have looked this up. Because when they introduce Magneto, I think he's in like World War II setting. I should have did my research, but I think that Magneto was like a Jew or something, and then he was going to some type of concentration camp. I don't remember the full deep, dark story of Magneto with that, but the context is dark, obviously. Magneto has I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Magneto does have a really dark backstory. So I'm gonna have to. Probably should have looked that over before I did this, but it's fine. But it's a classic scene. The classic scene of when we get to see Magneto use his ability for the first time. Get to see him use metal. It was great. It was awesome. They did a really good job showing that and how powerful he is, even at a child age. Like a solid 8-10-year-old. Or no, I think he looked like 12 actually, but. Solid. They do a solid job of showing powers and abilities. And then we cut to Rogue. We get to then Rogue's like the second one to pop up. We get to see what happens with her. She kisses this boy she likes, and then he just goes into a coma for like 3 weeks. Again, showing you their powers and abilities, explaining how they work. Again, they did such a good job with that. And then we move into the politics of X-Men. Yes, I said it. There are politics in X-Men. No, not the shitty politics like there are today. I'm talking about the politics within the world of X-Men. But X-Men has always done this thing. You see, X-Men has always done this thing where they do this thing where it's like, okay, you're different. Are people willing to accept you? Things like that. X-Men have always been about acceptance and about welcoming people in. Kind of like the nerd community was before it got overrun by a bunch of normies who watch movies and think that they know everything. I'm talking passively aggressively now. I should probably back up. But yes, there are politics within X-Men movies, X-Men comics, the TV shows. It is pretty much the big central theme of the X-Men. Because the Brotherhood of Shadow, the Brotherhood would rather, which we don't really get the Brotherhood clan in this movie. We kind of just get Magneto and the basic Mystique and Sabretooth and Toad and just kind of like a few villains and in a handful. Whereas the X-Men, we get the whole cast. We get pretty much almost the whole cast. We will get new ones later, but we got some good OGs here. All right, starting with my least favorite, Jean Grey. So during this political debate between Senator Kelly and Jean Grey, they were talking about mutants and about revealing what Senator Kelly was trying to say. That the mutants should reveal what they can do. That way they know that way the government, they can prepare for things that they can do. He was talking about the girl can walk through walls if what if she decides to walk into like a bank or the Pentagon or whatever. It is, again, it's not that he's wrong. It's again, they do a really good job where it's like you understand both sides. Like I think XMen Politics, especially before the comics got shitty, they did a really good job of always showing you, like, are mutants really dangerous, or are they able to control what they can do? And then, of course, we'll get through it later, but there's a point where Xavier's talking about how, yeah, there are mutants who have abilities that are a danger to themselves and others around them. That's just how it is. I mean, we can look at, for example, Cyclops. I mean, Cyclops has to always wear shades, or he has to always wear some type of face head on his eyes. Otherwise, he'll just constantly be shooting laser beams. Again, he does not have no control over that power. So they do a really good job of, kind of creating that debate. But of course, it's an X-Men movie, so we're always gonna believe and trust in the X-Men and things like that. Okay, so, and then we move on to when we get to meet Wolverine and Rogue. So Wolverine, I talked a little bit about Wolverine in my last review. A lot of people liked Wolverine and Wolverine X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yes, of course he was the best part of that movie. But he's even better here. Like I know a lot of people like to talk about, oh, well, he almost looks the part. He looks the part in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's fine, right? No. He literally, like, this is where it started, baby. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. This is where it started. All right, X-Men, the very first X-Men movie, man. Like I know a lot of people used to complain. They were like, he's not short enough. He's too tall. Hugh Jackman is too tall. That was always like the big debate or the big issue that a lot of comic book fans had. But eventually, obviously, we kind of grew past it, and we were like, he's cool. He's a cool guy. Because he just nails the role. He gets it. So, yeah, we get to see Wolverine. We get to see the first introduction of Wolverine. It was great. Again, powers and abilities, showing what they can't do. Did a great job showing him off, showing what he can do. In that bar fight is great. Perfect example of where you should be showing Wolverine in the setting and his powers and abilities, stuff like that. Wolverine's again, no memory, so he's just kind of roaming around, and I think they're in, like, are they in Canada or are they in Alaska? I think they might be in Canada. I might be wrong. They might be in Alaska. I think they're in Canada. I forgot where they went, but Rogue's obviously on the run because she's scared of what she did to the boy. So then Sabretooth pops out of nowhere and attacks Wolverine, and then the X-Men, Cyclops, and Storm show up to save them. Again, great representing of their powers and abilities. I love when Storm just, like, before you even see Storm, you just see the wind blowing and you see the weather changing rapidly. Again, such a good way of changing the tone and changing the weather. You know, they did such a good job of showing the powers and abilities. I'll probably never stop saying that because they did. They really did a great job. And then Cyclops just, boop, goodbye, Sabretooth. Then they save Rogue and Wolverine, and then they head off to the X-Mansion. And then we get to see the X-Mansion. We get to see the inside of the X-Mansion. We get to see the underground area. We get to see the school itself. We get to see a little bit of Wolverine talking to Xavier. It was great. We got to see them talking about it. So yeah, that was awesome. I love that they were just giving us so much. You're getting the X-Men. You're getting the Brotherhood. You're getting you're getting everything. You get the X-Mansion. You're getting everything in this movie as an X-Men fan. It's wonderful. It really, really is. There is one thing we don't really get, but I will get to that later in this review. So let's talk about the big plot in general. What is going on? What's the villain trying to do? What's Magneto trying to do? Well, Magneto has this machine that he wants to use to turn humans into mutants. That's his goal. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that it can also it is more likely going to kill humans. But mutants are immune because obviously their mutant X gene is already activated, so the machine has no effect on them. But humans, it's most likely going to kill, which we will get to later. But yeah, because and Magneto tested this out on Senator Kelly, which he kidnapped. Again, introduction Mystique, great introduction, showing off what she can do. Shapeshift, obviously. You know, I will say Mystique. I think I might be wrong, but I think Mystique might be my favorite. Like this Mystique, from the X-Men 1, 2, and 3. This might probably be my favorite Mystique, honestly, because I don't really care for Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique, honestly. And I get it. She doesn't like the body makeup, but I like it. I like the aesthetic. So kudos to the woman who plays as her in this movie, because she goes through that shit in 3 movies. she goes the whole 9 yards with it until the 3rd movie, obviously. But yeah, I wrote a lot of stuff down, as you can see. Okay, I wrote stuff down. All right. So Wolverine. So hold on a minute. Okay. Right. All right. The part of the plot is also that word on the street is Magneto wants Wolverine for the machine, but that's not the case, which we'll get to later. But Rogue ends up running away from the X-Mansion because Mystique shows up and she tricks her. And Mystique goes into this whole thing where she's infiltrating the X-Mansion, and then she's like messing with the equipment and stuff, which eventually leads to Professor X getting hurt. So, man, Mystique really does a lot of crazy stuff in this movie. But, okay, so now we get to the twist. This movie had like a big twist. And the twist, or twists, I should say. One of the big twists was that apparently Magneto didn't want Wolverine. He wanted Rogue for the machine. Which is the reason why is because he was going to give his power to her. That way he doesn't have to kill himself, essentially. He's going to kill her. He's going to sacrifice her to use the machine, which is fucked up. And then, of course, one of the twists being, again, like I said, Mystique infiltrates the X-Mansion. She tricks Rogue to leave. She ends up getting Professor X injured, yada, yada, yada. Really good. They did a really good job with those. And then, of course, Senator Kelly does die because he gets turned into a mutant. but then his cells were breaking down. He ended up dying, and oops, Magneto, you didn't know what you were doing, baby. So they have to find Rogue still. So Jean decides to use the machine Cerebro. We get to see Cerebro. Cerebro is in this movie. We get to see the Cerebro. We know Cerebro from the X-Men comics. So Jean finds Rogue, and then we get to now we get to this. All right, the costumes. So they make a joke in this movie about yellow spandex because a lot of people know this, but obviously based off of the movies, they're not wearing the classic outfits. They're wearing these generic black outfits. And I was actually talking about it with my brother, and because I actually forgot the reason why that they decided to go with the black outfits. Apparently, they thought that the yellow spandex was gay, so they decided, they were like, okay, well, we're just gonna give them black outfits then. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That's what my brother said, at least. I mean, someone can fact check this, but apparently Stan Lee said that too, so okay. But yeah, at least you had that as like a cameo joke in here, I guess. That was funny. It was actually a genuinely funny joke. I think the comedy was pretty decent in this movie compared to the MCU these days, where you get a big fat joke every 5 minutes. This movie does a great balance. That's the difference. But then we get to see the Blackbird! The Blackbird, baby! You know, the plane, the X-pilot, the X-wing, the Blackbird, man. It was so cool we get the build up to that was great. Again, they did such a good job building. Like, they did such a good job world building in this movie. Bryan Singer I think he was the director in this movie, did such a good job world building. You know, showing powers, abilities, showing the world of the X-Men, showing the world of the Brotherhood, showing the world with mutants in it. Like, such a good job. Like I can't even imagine someone at the MCU attempting to redo something like this. Like, you can't redo this. Like there's no way you can. That's probably why they haven't done it yet. Because they know as soon as they do it, most people are not going to like it. I mean, maybe they can do it. But honestly, I don't have confidence. But whatever. Let's get back to the review. All right. Wolverine versus Mystique. Epic fight. I love that. I love the trickery. Because they does such a good job. They even trick the audience. They trick you. They trick me. Because it's like, you know, there are times when you're like, okay, who's who? You know, again, she turns into Wolverine. She tries to kill Cyclops. Wolverine pops out. But, you know, we don't know who's who. And then they're fighting. Again, and it's such a good fight. Wolverine eventually does win by shanking her in the stomach. And there was blood. You could actually see blood on her stomach. So I mean, I know a lot of people expected me to bitch about blood when it comes to Wolverine in this movie, but it's an X-Men movie. If a Wolverine movie by itself, I would expect to be rated R, but this is an X-Men movie, so I'll forgive it. You know, he stabbed someone and there was blood. Okay, that's fine for me. So I got my one shank in an X-Men movie. That's fine. All right. Oh, and Storm versus Toad. I'll be honest. When I saw Halle Berry's Storm versus Toad, Halle Berry sold me immediately. I was like, wow, man, she did such a good job. And then again, the build up to when she's about to electrocute his ass. Oh man, I think I might be wrong, but did she kill him? Because if she killed him, that's a little fucked up. But I don't think we ever see Toad again. She might have killed him. Damn, that's kind of fucked up. But after that big fight, we get to Wolverine versus Sabretooth, which was based off of X-Men Origins Wolverine compared to this fight. I actually like the Wolverine versus Sabretooth the best in this movie, honestly. I thought that it was great. I thought it was well choreographed. I thought they did a good job. The setting, the fight was great. They're fighting on the Statue of Liberty. They're making their way through Liberty Island. Man, this whole setting was like great. I'm going to get to the setting and the themes later, but it was really good. And then, of course, Wolverine saves Rogue. They end up, taking down Magneto, getting him arrested, taking Sabretooth in, everyone, yada, yada, yada. They win, they save the day. Yay! But again, they did it in a way where, like, you thought Rogue was dead. Like you thought that she honestly was dead. And you're like, oh no, she's dead. And then starts draining Wolverine, like, uh-oh. But again, they did such a good job building it up. They did such a good job. Music was great. Cinematography was great. Acting was great. Voice acting was great. Writing was fantastic. Again, everything about this movie just screamed X-Men. Just screamed comic book. Like, I was like, yes, I'm watching a comic book movie. This is great. But yeah, man, this is great. And then we got the ending. Wolverine and Rogue, they end up parting ways. Wolverine goes out to set up X-Men 2, obviously, which we will get to. And then we got, again, the real ending, which is Professor X and Magneto having their friendly chess game, and, just kind of talking about how Professor X will always be there to stop him and things like that. It was so good. And then the music kicks in and the credits roll, and you're like, man, that was so good. All right, so I know that I was just going on and on and on about this movie. Okay, so yeah, the theme song, man, the iconic, like, new X-Men theme song that they did was just great. A lot of early 2000 movies did this, where they relied on music as, like a theme song. And I miss those days. I miss the old theme songs for movies and characters and TV shows. Let's talk about the theme of the movie itself, because I was actually talking about this with my brother. Again, we were talking about the movie. He was telling me about how this movie seemed a bit darker than like X-Men comics or the TV shows, like the 90s TV shows or the early 2000s TV shows. And I'm sitting there like, kind of. I mean, if I was to tip it on a balance scale, I would tip it slightly in the direction of dark, but it's not too dark, okay? We're not at too dark yet. We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get to the too dark in X-Men Days of Futures Past, all right? But yeah, man, again, setting. Oh, setting's fantastic. They did such a good job with the environment around them, the sets that they were on, the setting, showing you the X-Mansion, showing you, the Statue of Liberty, the fight on top of there was fantastic. Again, the theme of freedom, liberty, again, they did such a good job, kind of bringing this all together with the X-Men and freedom and all these themes, and it did such a good job of showing you all of that in the settings of the movie. They did a really good job with the settings. I really love the whole idea of fighting on top of, like, the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building or the Paris Tower. Like, settings matter. And I think, that ending fight with the X-Men versus the Brotherhood on the Statue of Liberty was fan-fucking-tastic. That was a great ending fight between those two factions. That was fantastic. And that was just the first movie. But yeah, man, I'm going to say this. When I was sitting here trying to figure out what I wanted to rate this movie, I was sitting there just like gnawing my hand. I was like, "Arr!" Because this movie again was so good, and I almost wanted to give it a 10 out of 10. I was like, "This is easy 10 out of 10." How is this not? Because I could find almost no fault. I mean, yes, Rogue is not the classic Southern Belle that we know her from like the 90s cartoon. The classic outfits are not in here. We don't even really get to see Jubilee. I think we got Jubilee as a fucking cameo. We never get Jubilee. Not even the new X-Men stuff. So yeah, there's criticisms, but it would be an easy 10 out of 10. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. And that is just simply because of some minor things. Like, of course, like I said, Rogue not being the Southern Belle like we know. Jubilee being a cameo. You know, the classic outfits not being in there. Man, I almost want to give it a 9.5. I mean, that's how good it was. But I think I'm saving that for X-Men 2, which was, I think, is pretty much everyone's favorite X-Men movie. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'm out of here. Up, and away. See you guys.